Okay, welcome back, and thank you for watching my YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to put the Rudder Servo into the cabin. While I was waiting for the last film video that I did to be exported out of the camera chip, I did a couple things. First off, what I did was I went ahead and added thread lock to the quick connect for the throttle. Okay, now that I'm fairly certain that the position of that is good, might as well go ahead and get that ready. Okay. The other two things I did was on the tail. You can see here I added a glob of hot melt glue here and here. Even though I cut them off, there was still a little sharp point there, so just a dab of hot melt glue that'll stay there pretty nicely. And the other thing I did was I put the rubber or the silicone tubing up over the clevis on both of them. Okay, and by the way, this clevis, this black clevis, I don't like it. It's got a lot of sharp corners, and it was difficult to move that clevis and move that tubing up over the clevis. Usually I can just do it with my fingernails and pull it right on. This one I had to pull it off using my needle nose pliers, open it up, and then get it back over there. So I will probably not use those if I ever buy another one of these, or if I ever see that kind of a black clevis again. It has too many sharp corners for that, and plus it's rather, I think, clumsily designed. It should be smoother design. So the other, okay, so we did that. The other thing I did was I went ahead and used my wooden wedge and mounted the Rudder Servo in place without the arm. Okay, that just made sure that it was exactly where I had it when I drilled the pilot holes. And the other thing I did was, obviously, I used my little string with a nut on it to feed the wire in. Okay, and we'll pull the radio stuff back out. And now I've got all three servos hooked up to the receiver. Okay. So in fact, everything is hooked to the receiver. There's the two wires for the left and right ailerons, the rudder, elevator, and throttle are all hooked up. So all 6 channels have something in it. Okay. So now I'm going to turn on the radio next. Time to put this. I put the servo in without the arm because you need to center it, and it was going to be in the way. So radio is on. I'm going to center the servos by turning the receiver on. Okay. Oh. Okay. How about plugging the battery into the switch before I turn that on? All right. Now let's try the receiver on. Okay. You can see the light is orange and on. Okay. Now all 3 of these servos should be moving. Okay. Throttle looks good. Elevator is going in the correct direction. And now that the rudder servo is in place, I'm going to slide the quick connect in over the end of the wire. I haven't cut the wire off yet, although I estimated where I should. Let me show you how I did that. I put a black mark right here, and what that is if you move the rudder, let's see here. I'm sorry, not with that. If you just manually move the rudder all the way forward, if you manually move the rudder to its full potential throw, then I made a mark right here where that wire hits the arm of the throttle. So I got to cut it off at least at that point. Okay. So then I'm going to slide this. Remember, it's a 2-arm, one for nose wheel steering, one for rudder. I'm going to slide the 2-arm, the 2 quick connects on, and then because the servo is centered, I'm just going to center this and put it in place. So you can see, I'll go ahead and screw that in place. I can see that the mark I made on the rudder push rod is doesn't have a whole lot of room, but it's going to be enough. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take my Sharpie marker, mark a little further back. And so now you'll be able to see that push rod has 2 marks on it. This first one, which is I got to cut it off at least that much, and I maybe 3/16 back from that, is a second mark, which is about a 1/4 inch in front of the quick connect, and that's going to be where I'm going to cut it off. So that'll leave plenty of room so that servo, so that the throttle servo won't be hit by the push rod of the rudder. Okay. Now, before I do that, I want to make sure exactly where the rudder needs to be. So I'm just going to, by line of sight, make sure that the rudder is straight. That's close enough. Okay. And I'm going to tighten this rudder servo down, the quick connect on the rudder servo arm down. Okay. And then that'll allow me to watch the rudder as I move the stick on the radio. Okay. I'm moving it to the right, and guess what? It's not going to the right. It's going in the wrong direction. So that means that we have to change the reversal of the rudder servo. So I'm going to go into going into servo setup. Okay. Going to change from travel over to reverse. Okay, click on that once. Come down to the rudder, and you see the black mark is in the bottom position. And I'm going to click it once, and that makes the mark in the top position. So that means the servo is reversed. And I can test that theory by holding the rudder up, and now I'll move the rudder to the right, and now it's going in the right direction, proper direction. Okay. All right, so the rudder is now properly oriented. I can exit back out of that, and let's see. I guess I can go ahead and cut the arm off. So I'm going to cut the arm off, holding on to the, tell you what, I'm going to turn the receiver off and the radio off. Because I might end up moving this around a little bit. Don't want to bother the radio or the receiver or the servo. Okay. Let me get this right where I want it. Alright, so that's how much I left. In other words, I left about a 1/4 inch in front of that quick connect. And now, let's make sure. Turn the radio back on. Okay, turn the receiver back on. Okay. Now, if I pick this up and show you, I'll move that rudder all the way to the, let's see, left, and you can see how far that is going to go, and there won't be any clearance problems between the rudder push rod and the arm for the throttle. Okay, so yeah, got plenty of clearance, and rudder's nice and straight with and got plenty of throw in both directions. Okay. Okay, so receiver is off, radio is off, and I'm going to hold off doing the quick connect thread lock, Loctite, until after I do the rudder, the nose wheel steering for this. Then I'll do both thread locks. Okay, probably nose wheel steering is next. That'll be the last thing to do. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.